Welcome to the freewheeling cavalcade of circular motion, thus defined by the octagon table of double-wide mental introspection and dedicated utilitarian outward thinking in defense of zero content. Translation: we ain't got nothing.
Oh, hey folks, dude here yet again. Another iteration of Dude After Dark. Hopefully things are currently working sort of okay. I am now trying to make things work, and hopefully thusly things are working. I'm now looking at it on YouTube, and it looks like, oh my stars and garters, it's actually working! Wow, how cool is that? Okay, I guess I probably should just jump straight into things and, make sure that they are working aptly. So let me chase the monitor madness I got going on here, because literally I'm looking at the home computer for sound guy and me talking to each other, and we'll know when things are. Sound guy, stop that. Okay, that was a little brutal because she was just never mind. She was she was or just okay. Anyway, sound guy being sound guy, going into the treasure trove of sound effects. He's just gonna do. Okay, I don't even know where he's going with that one. Okay, now sound guy, no, that was just. Ew, dookie fart sound. Okay, stop, sound guy, just stop. Okay, stop, please, stop. No more. Yeah, you're approaching critical mass here. Okay. No, you don't get a ding for saying that you're being obnoxious. Okay, that's just Okay, that is really pushing it here, okay? I mean, most expressly, that's really pushing it. Anyway, way, shape, or form which we find ourselves, we're now looking at things as it is, and, stop that! Yeah, you're really are pushing it. Stop. I got the pause button here, okay? Don't be, well, like douchebags. Really? You did not get a ding for saying douchebags, okay? No. That's no. That's no. Let's see. Jump over here to the news stories. This I find absolutely hilarious. There's no other way to express it other than the rank, just audacity, the arrogance, the anally embodied mindset of these guys. I love this one. The Chinese are saying a top Chinese official, U.S. quote unquote peasants will wail in front of 5,000 years of Chinese civilization. To which I answer back, more like 500 years of rank subjugation, okay? Let's just call it what it is. From the Boxer Revolution on down to the Ming Dynasty to beyond, you guys were friggin' peasants, okay? We're not peasants. We are emancipated colonialists who pretty much told the parent country to go, how would you say this without saying this, sound guy? You guys would just, how would I say this? I know how I'd say it. I would say it that they are pretty much just, well, okay, I don't know if I would say ew, but I would say you're not running things anymore, and we're in charge here. Really?
Blow it out your ass.
I don't know about the dun-dun, but the whole we're not subjugated subjects upon you to be subjected upon, and okay, anyway. Essentially, we told the parent country to go take a long march off a very short cliff. Anyway, the Chinese think that we're going to wimp out when they're going to be hosed in about 6 months. I mean, just the way it is. I mean, things are stacking up on their docks. They are now having to have work stoppages. No matter how bad the mainstream press is saying in the United States, we've picked up a few 100,000 jobs already. First, 100 days of Trump's administration, he's already proven out that he just simply does things the 180 out of the way that the politicians say you should be doing things, the way that the Fed says we should be doing things. He just does everything completely opposite of their way of thinking, and stuff's starting to do better. So, what was that? The mark of insanity is doing the same things over and over and trying to expect new results, and we can't just keep doing stuff the way that we've been doing it, because otherwise, yeah, we're going to get a bite in the bag. Sound guy, you're really... That was noteworthy and poignant, might I say. But yeah, you're pushing it, okay? He's way overboard on this one. So a senior Chinese official responded to the tariff war that Trump launched against the communist Chinese, mocked Americans as peasants who had wailed in front of 5,000 years of Chinese civilization. I'm going to try to pronounce this, but Chinese is always one of those, tonal languages. I speak some Japanese. I don't speak Chinese. Chinese is like tonal and just kind of weird pronunciations. So I think it's, ZIA, which I think would be like Jia Baolong, who oversees Hong Kong and Macau. Macau is basically China's equivalent to Las Vegas. Trust me, that place is absolutely beyond crazy for the Chinese to go, we want to just throw away all our renminbi. That's the place. So Macau is their Vegas. Said on Tuesday that Trump's 145% tariff on goods from China was, quote, brutally unreasonable. Translation, very, very, very poignantly saying, we're basically gonna just, yeah. Okay, stop with the dog chomp. No, you do not get a ding. Stop. It's basically telling them in no uncertain words that they are looking at a bad case of, I think that may have been a case of, blow it out your, blow it out your butt. Anyway,
blow it out your ass.
I think they got the message, sound guy. Anyway, so, quote, the USA isn't after our tariffs, but our very survival, whatever, said on television. The U.S. has repeatedly contained and suppressed Hong Kong and will eventually backfire on itself. Let those peasants, United States, wail in front of 5,000 years of Chinese civilization. Okay. 5,000 years of Chinese civilization. Previous to having 1.4 billion people, who is now in market decline because of your one child per couple thing, and the fact you have 20 to 30 horny single men with no girls with which to pair up with, a military that hasn't fought a war in 100 years, a non-consumption, production-only society, cities that you built to make it look like you actually were doing something with your GDP. It's only a matter of time before you guys crash and burn. I mean, you guys have this high arrogance of, oh no, we're the Chinese, you can't beat us. You're going to fall apart from within. Trust me on this one. Barry K. Sean, appreciate you hanging out with me tonight. And, of course, Patriot Fever in the room. Good stuff. 8 bean carnivore chili compliments of Nurse Patriot. Wait, she wants me to do something, doesn't she? Oh, man. You know how you make Irish bean soup? You may only use 239 beans in that soup. Because if you add one more, it becomes too farty. Bad Irish joke. Anyway, Scrolly, Bao Yong's verbiage kicked the butt in rhetoric used by Vice President J.D. Vance, who told Fox News early this month, quote, what the globalist economy has gotten from the United States? And the answer is fundamentally it's based on two principles: incurring a huge amount of debt to buy things that other countries make for us, and to make it a little more crystal clear, we borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things from Chinese peasants manufacture. This is not the recipe for economic prosperity. It's a recipe for low prices. It's not a recipe that's good for jobs in the United States of America. Translation, we're basically biting the hand that feeds us by buying the hand that feeds us. Excuse me one second here. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian responded, it's both astonishing and lamentable to hear the vice president make such an ignorant and disrespectful remark. Okay, when you guys start saying stuff like ignorant, disrespectful, the way that you've treated the United States for the last 50 to 60 years has been nothing less than you trying to be the overlord of our economic structure. And because of stupid policies, politicians, and all the rest of the folderol you can add into it, us removing our manufacturing and sending it over to China and doing it there because it's just cheap was such a short-sighted thing, mostly because there's three reasons. One, the Chinese lie like crazy. If you're getting a product from them, you have to keep on it to make sure that they're not slipping a few hundred of something that's substandard in there. Why? Because that's just how things are. They refer to lying as that inconvenient habit. Two, they will steal anything that you show to them going, hey, can you build this? Oh, yeah, great. Yeah, we can make this for you. In the meantime, you can go to China right now and you can buy a bargain basement, air quotes, iPhone that they have backwards engineered and are making in-house, and it is unbelievably transparent how they're doing things, where you take the back off the phone and you're looking at the components and they say Apple on them, but they like markered over the Apple. It's the same product, device, component that they're putting in their phones versus the standard production items that they're making for Apple, and they're selling them in-house in China and in other regions for way less than what an iPhone costs. Third, because they're doing all this unscrupulous stuff, they absolutely cannot be trusted. Those are three reasons we should never, ever be dealing with China ever, ever, ever again. The mere fact that they're using our technology to try to hold it over our heads, all kinds of industrial, just covert operations and just outright theft. These guys never, ever, ever should be utilizing our intellectual property items to begin with. Second off, it should be encrypted in such a way that it takes them blanking forever to get into the way things work. Let's see. Bao Long's strident rhetoric is not unusual for Chinese leaders. In November 2023, Chinese President Xi Jinping warned then President Zhou Kaka that China was unifying with Taiwan was unstoppable. It's not unstoppable. It's 130 miles off land, and you know what? If we start cruising the China Sea, the mere fact that China is like, oh no, we're controlling this area. Dude, we could have 3 or 4 nuke subs parked in that area that you would not be able to stop, and it would flat out ruin your command structure within about a half an hour. Like, flat out ruined. The U.S. side should take real actions to honor its commitment of not supporting Taiwan independence, which we absolutely should support. Stop arming Taiwan and support China's peaceful reunification. It's not peaceful, folks. It is simply an economic warfare where they've said, you know what, it's better to just bankrupt these guys rather than outright fight with them. Why? Because remember that first part about the Chinese lie and can't be trusted? Yeah, they say one thing, and because of that inconvenient habit, they really truly don't mean what they say. The Chinese will realize reunification. This is unstoppable. It's not unstoppable because the Taiwanese don't even want to be part of China. They want to be their own entity, even though they're close to China, and even though Taiwanese is kind of similar to Chinese, they are distinctly a completely different culture on their own accord. Just give me 1 second here. I got ticker juice. It's still hot. In 2019, communist China threatened to retaliate against the United States for limiting the federal dollars spent on Chinese products. Wait, let's wrap our head around this one and unpack it here for a second. They're now bitching about the fact you're not spending enough money on their cheap products that they're stuffing into the United States market by undercutting the United States market by making cheap stuff to begin with. What? So the official mouthpiece of the Chinese Communist Party, the People's Daily, intimated that China would stop exporting quote-unquote rare earth minerals to the United States. If you guys know anything about rare earth minerals, they're really not particularly quote-unquote rare. They're just harder to obtain, which makes them quote-unquote rare. There is lithium deposits in Tennessee, I think it is, that we have scads of the stuff. We just simply have to dig it out and utilize it on our own. However, that whole 2035 thing, I think that they were cramming down everybody's throat about we're going to be fully electric and, utilizing completely green energy and da-da-da-da-da by 2035. That was a hugely ramped up artificial mandate stuffed in place. And Joe Kaka was ramming that thing home like you don't want to know, because mostly he was thinking that he had
Balls.
Okay, no, that wasn't what I meant, sound guy. He's thinking that he had.
I've got balls of steel. Blow it out your ass. I've got balls of steel.
Balls of steel, blow it out your. Okay. Anyway, so. He was ramming that 2035 mandate home where we're going to be completely green and renewable, EVs everywhere, petroleum-fueled vehicles are going to be going the way of the dodo. It's not needed. There's a couple of important things that people really tend to gloss over the fact that, number one, our electric grid was insufficient back in the 1970s, 60s. To try to plug in every electric car that they are thinking of stuffing down everybody's throats, the grid would literally melt. Number two, there's insufficient power generation to even keep up with that kind of power level of utilization. So I was just talking with one of my riders, like literally just the other day, and she does office type stuff and generating forms, and she's basically one of these higher functioning, just really intrinsic like corporate things. So anyway, she was thinking of utilizing another position in another company and was calling around, and so we got to talk about power generation and what it was kind of really just an esoteric conversation, but we got to talk about power generation, and it came out to be we shifted to nuclear power. The idea of building a 3 Mile Island or a Fukushima or one of these Goliath power generation units that's just it needs to be big because it needs to be big. Kind of is not the way of the future, and literally it's not very convenient because the classic thing is everybody's like, well, you can just use solar power. Okay, you get a place like Africa that has 350 some odd plus days of just constant heavy hard sunlight. Yeah, that would be great. The only downside is you've taken sunlight, and with even the best edge of the envelope technology that we have now for solar panels, it's getting maybe 25 to 30%. So you have vast areas covered with solar panels pulling 1/3 of the sun's energy and going, okay, I got all this power. Where do you send it? The other thing too is also there's what they call step up and step down. So you've generated all this power, but to try to send it out at 50 volts or 40 volts or something, it's not going to work. The first generations they had of transatlantic cables didn't work simply because they tried to send too much power through it, the cable would melt. So what they eventually figured out is they needed something called repeaters. And literally what it is it's a box in the middle of the cable. The cable takes a signal, it hits there and goes, okay, this is getting weak. It takes that signal and it amplifies it. It kicks it out to the next repeater. That repeater takes the signal, goes, yeah, it's getting weak. Signal strengthens it, kicks it out to the next repeater. And they would literally have these things, what's called daisy chained. It would be one right after another, sending out the same signal amplifier from the previous signal loss. And that was analog. That was, your spoken voice going over wires to real-time translation to the other guy with the speaker on the other end hearing what you're saying. It was very, very poor signal strength. It was very, very poor signal. It was dirty. Read like a lot of static and whatnot. It didn't sound particularly good. It was very, very weak and hard to understand until they went to digital. And that became better because then you took the analog signal and you translated it into computer language and you said, okay, this is now what you're sending with the repeaters. But also in the other side of that is you could stack this voice on top of that voice, on top of this voice, on top of that voice, and a whole bunch of other files and other information. And you could then send that to each repeater and it would actually take the signal as it's getting weaker, bump it up, kick it on to the next one. Installing some noise. Every time you do that, you add noise. Then eventually we came around to fiber optics. And fiber optics literally is, there is no physical theoretical limit on how much information you basically can send through a fiber optic. The only thing that changes is you change the color of the laser for how much it is on the, you've seen the spectrum of where it goes like green, yellow, purple, this, that, and everything. And every time you go down to finally get to like ultraviolet, where the signal gets very, very bitty in terms of the actual waves that you see coursing over the scheme of things, and you can compress that by having all these signals on top of each other, and none of them will interact with each other, and you can send through bazillions of information at any one time. All right, so go back to where I was originally. Now, the whole technology involved with all this stuff is all fine and good, but the power generation is with signal loss is, say you've generated 40 volts. By the time it gets to anywhere, it's a little flea fart in a hurricane. It's nothing. So you've seen the high tension wires that are like 150,000 volts or like some insane amount of power. They need to do that for long distance translation and transmission, because if you were to send through 110 volts, by the time it got to the other end, it would be almost nothing. So the step down and step up transformers, literally what they do is they take that power, they gather that power, and they run it up to some unbelievably high voltage that then goes really long distances. And say it starts out at 150,000 volts here, by the time it gets to the other end, it might be only 140, maybe 130, but still, that is way more power than if you try to send it at 110 volts, which would be almost nothing at the other end. Then you take that 120,000 volts, 130,000 volts, whatever it is, and then you take that power and you step it back down to 220 and then finally down to 110, which is what you're plugging into in your house. So, make a recording of a flea fart hurricane. Don't get him started. Come on. No, flea fart hurricane. Sound guy. Sound guy. Don't get him started, please. Please. Flea fart and hurricane. Don't. Okay, that was delightful. Thank you, sound guy. Sound guy. Jeez. Anyway, so the power generation, say you create bazillions of volts of power in Africa to try to transmit it to anywhere. Like, majorly high voltage undersea cables going from here to there. Let's just be generous, okay? From England to my state of Maryland is like 3,000 plus miles. The step down and step up for the power generation would be unbelievably ungodly. Now, the nice thing is because the cable would be underwater, it actually would never, ever actually overheat because just, it's underwater. It's got cooling. However, the ability to take that power, make that power, and transmit that power does not justify the fact that you simply go, you know what? Why we send a juice 3,000 miles away? We'll simply just do it here. So between petroleum products, natural gas, nuclear, hydro, solar, all the rest of these things, we got plenty of ways to generate power here. We're not a small country. We have plenty of land in which to do these things. However, to try to do this green energy thing with just solar panels would basically cover New Mexico. Just to generate enough power for the United States would cover New Mexico. Excuse me one second here. And even then, this is the best part about these guys. Well, you can simply just use wind and solar. What if there's no wind? Well, that's when you use solar. What if it's at night? Well, you have power generation with other means using waves and this. Dude, they've done wave generation units. They kind of work, but they're not quite there yet. Hydroelectric. Okay, this is one of my classic lines I always tell people, when they're like riding with me and I'm like, using my weird and obscure facts file from the ISS. Read the guy's basically kicking around 260 miles above the Earth. From orbit, they can see from the Hoover Dam going down to Las Vegas, they can see the power lines. Now, if that gives you any idea just how much Las Vegas alone uses in terms of power, it's ungodly. The amount of power that those guys use, because they're triple digits a good chunk of the year. And they're like, you know what? We don't want everybody to be too hot. We want them to enjoy their time here. Oh, yeah, refrigeration so nobody gets sick after eating seafood trucked in all over the planet. These high rollers have to eat the high dollar money because, well, these guys bring in so much money that we have to make sure that nobody gets sick, and they spend all their money here and just gambling. Sound guy, no, wait. The cash register I got. What about, people buying. Okay. I don't think I got this one. I don't think that needs refrigeration. I think it contends with its own atmospherics pretty well when people are I think he's trying to talk about the sex worker industry in in Las Vegas. Okay, I don't think that she was very happy. Okay. She's outside. It's hot. She's trying to work outside, selling that trying to sell it. Okay, I'm going to stop here because he's going to get more into everything that we really truly don't want to know about the whole industry of. Yeah, just we don't need to know about that part, okay? And most of the time, those girls are just looking. And not, no, most of the time they're looking exceedingly, totally, and not, oh, she looks like a model. I really want a piece of that. No, it's more a case of, oh, she's over here on the corner and, hey, buddy, got a quarter. Ugh. Anyway, I don't know how we transitioned from China finances to people buying a piece of when they're really dealing with. Yeah. Oh, man. Anyway, enough of that stuff. Oh, yeah. The People's Daily wrote, quote, "Don't say we didn't warn you," end quote. That phrase has historically been used by the Chinese Communist Party to threaten armed warfare. I really, 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 really want to curse here. I got this one, sound guy. Give me 1 second to get lined up on it, okay? Mother, you have no idea of what you're talking about because your Navy is just a bunch of chucking, utilizing nothing in terms of just showing off for the longest time without actual hands-on. Mother, You guys have no idea about what you're trying to do, but let's just say you're trying to walk the walk and talk the talk and right on the nuts. Right on the nuts. You guys have no inkling of what you think you're going to be able to do. Let's just say you had to steal our intellectual property because, oh yeah, you can't build a jet engine that works reliably at high performance levels of like the stuff we have. You guys are not there yet. That's just the planes. The boats, paper tiger. Paper tiger has been like the phrase used forever about the Chinese military. They march around really good. I'll give them that. They look good when they march. In actual combat, all that marching and lack of experience, you're going to get your asses handed to you. Seriously. Somebody's going to take your legs right out from underneath you, and you're going to think that you're all that, and you ain't. Scrolly. This is kind of a sad note, but it does give more definition as to what happened with Gene Hackman and his wife, Betty Arakawa. So what happened was Gene obviously had been dealing with just mental decline and, obviously age-related either Parkinson's or something along those lines. Mental acuity was probably not all there. He was just not doing good. His wife, she thought that she had COVID, and she had a high body load of all manner of just like over-the-counter stuff where she was trying to go, okay, I'm like deal with all kinds of like chest things and blah, blah, blahs and coughing and carrying on and whatnot. Of all things, it was a Southwest affliction that really I've been aware of for a long time, and I'm very, very careful about it if I'm ever dealing with this type of stuff. However, in the Southwest of these United States, mice get into your property and proceed to do what mice do. Mice eat, and of course they leave urine and feces in other places. So in cleaning it up in the dust that's been generated, you contract something known as hantavirus. Hantavirus is damn near a biological level weapon system. It is beyond nasty stuff. So basically they found out by looking at her, computers and phone and whatnot, that it showed that she visited and looked up sites and other places for COVID symptoms. So she gave her, Gene Hackman a COVID test, came back negative, and she purchased several boost oxygen canisters, trying to bump up her oxygen level. She also emailed her masseuse for advice whether to give him outside medical treatment, with the final internet search on February 12 for a Santa Fe healthcare provider. So they believe that she'd passed from hantavirus, literally hantavirus poisoning, shortly after making the search, and Hackman passed away 1 week later. Obviously, there was a dog that was locked up. Essentially, it was just like a decline on her part, and him just kind of like, just cluelessly walking around the house like, what do I do? What do I do? Who do I do? This, that, and the other thing. He was just so out of it. He passed around about a week later, February 17th or 18th, from an advanced Alzheimer's, disease and heart complications. So essentially his caregiver passed, and then he passed afterwards. Now the thing about it is obviously there was no wellness checks because they thought that she was fine. They thought that, he was having good care. It wasn't a case of, oh no, we now know something is really, really wrong because we watched both these people and everything is just going completely kablooey. They didn't see it happening. So essentially she contracted and passed from hantavirus, and he just passed from Alzheimer's and heart complications. Sad, kind of tragic, but kind of also like very unusual for somebody to be in like, not a poor situation or, exposed to Hanta and going, okay, I'm not going to go to the doctor. I'm simply just going to treat this on my own. Conceivably, had she reached treatment, I think that you actually can receive and get treatment for Hanta. Let me just do a quick check here real quick. I don't know if there is actually a treatment for it. Because it is a really, really nasty thing. Hantavirus treatment options. So hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, diagnosis and treatment. But here's the thing: they need to have early recognition. Supportive therapy, intensive care, which would be intubation and mechanical ventilation, need to support breathing, manage fluid in the lungs, intubation, blah, blah, blah. Blood oxygenation using ECMO. And I think what it is there's other secondary treatments they do. Let me see what they do here. Treatment prevention. Summary introduction. Treatment. To date, there's no U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved antiviral drugs available for use against hantavirus or the other according parts of it. Therefore, management of severe cases purely based on supportive care. Maintaining fluid and electrolyte balance very important in these patients. Renal insufficiency may require ECMO, dialysis treatment, mechanical ventilation, and additional supportive care. Trials of antiviral and immunotherapies done against hantavirus. They are as follows: riboflavin, favipyravin, and essentially it's basically inhibits it from reproducing. So basically they've done, this is all like really serious medical names here. They do immunotherapy, trying to kick the thing down because it's a virus. I mean, there really is no good treatments right now because it's a virus that kind of gets in there and just kind of takes over. Of course, you heard about Senator Holland going down to San Salvador to try to fix things with dirtbag MS-13 guy. It gets better, folks. I got a number of news stories about that one. It gets really, really good. This one I think is really blanking hilarious, and this kind of makes me proud to be Magyar, translation of Hungarian origin, but they don't mince words. And they say essentially either a man or a woman, and nothing else matters. So the Hungary land has now amended its constitution to say you are a male or female, and there is nothing in between except for one of those two things. And it is now recognized that the trans guys, they really, truly don't get to be, they don't get to insert themselves in that society and say that they are anything but what they are. So, the whole...
X1ZPDQOU812.
Okay, I think we got it, sound guy. The whole...
X1ZPDQOU812.
Oh, you touch my tra-la-la. My ding-ding-dong.
Stop that. Stop. Yeah, I don't want a copyright hit from playing the X-Files theme. Even though it's a good one. It's a good one. I do like it, but you get on YouTube, you get maybe 5 or 7 seconds, and they're like, Thor's hammer! We got you, you dirtbags! Copyright hit.
X1ZPDQOU812.
Okay, I think we got it, sound guy. So now in Hungary's constitution, you are the binaries of male or female. That's it. Now, I've also heard, the EU is really kind of like, oh, these pissy Hungarians, they're so set in their ways. They're just, too conservative. They really, truly don't like being part of the EU. I'll give you that. They really, truly don't like being part of the EU. As a matter of fact, there's some actual, cultural things that actually make it hard for people to visit. The internet service in Hungary is kind of not great. The whole foreign language thing, you're going to be kind of hard-pressed to find somebody that doesn't speak Hungarian, French, or another European language. English is not very well represented. The signs are all in Hungarian. So you're probably gonna be walking around with your phone going, "Oh, Google Lens, Google Lens, Google Lens, Google Lens, Google Lens. Oh, that's what I needed." And then you're gonna walk in there going, "Translation services. Hey, could you do this, that, and the other thing?" And blah 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 blah. And then you're gonna show it to the guy, and he's gonna go, "Okay." That's probably how things are gonna go if you go to Hungary. Okay, they say, "Oh, it's a backwards country." No, they're set in their ways, and they don't want to adapt to the EU being the EU. Why? Because it's the EU. They just don't feel themselves as being motivated to go, "We're going to be so inclusive and like all the rest of these guys." That's not how they roll, okay? They're very much their own place. They've always been their own place. And the Europeans are like, ugh, these pissy Hungarians. Why don't they just adapt? Ugh. Picture for the room. How is Van Hollen not a Logan Act violation? It isn't a no. It is. It definitely is a Logan Act violation. And I got another news story too about 4 more. Yeah. Oh no, Patriot Fever. No, I'm not going to talk about that one. That one's just no. That one is. That one is no. That's just.
Oh no, that's not true.
It's not tuna. Okay, we're not talking about tuna. All right, no. I think Sound Guy's getting a little creative here with the whole talking about Sound Guy. No.
Oh no, that's not true.
Oh, stop! You're making him go this way, Patriot Fever. I blame you. That's not meow. Oh, jeez. Oh, and he's probably gonna stitch it together. Go, that's not tuna. Meow. Jeez. Wow. This one being very, very interesting. It's a very, very quick, easy one to say. 2 top Pentagon officials have been put on leave amid the Signal file leak investigation. Okay, now here's the thing. That whole Signal conversation was completely unclassified. The other thing, too, is, oh yeah, because Hegseth is in charge of, as the Secretary of Defense, he doesn't need the president to say this isn't secret anymore. He can declassify as well. So all he has to say is that conversation was not containing any secret items. I'll allow it. Removes their whole mandate. Done deal. There's no way in the world that the federal government could then say, well, he was talking about blah, 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 and we got him dead to rights. That's not the case at all. Considering the fact that the Secretary of Defense and the U.S. President, and I think lightly, the Vice President, because he can't physically do it, but he could say, hey, POTUS, POTUS here, I got a question. Can we declassify so-and-so and so-and-so? And the President's going to go, well, okay, let me take a look at the file. Okay, sure, I'll allow it. Done. But anyway, Hegseth can say something is not secret any longer. It is not a secured item. It didn't need to be talked about in a SCIF. Now, if you guys know what that is, an intelligence agency, a SCIF is literally, it can be just a room. But it's a room that is known to be secure. Before entry, you take off your smartphone, you take off all your recording devices, everything else, everything electronic gets left outside. Sometimes they won't even allow you to bring a pen and paper in there. So you enter into the SCIF, the other parties enter into the SCIF, the files that are in question are put in front of you, or there's a secured laptop that's put in front of you, and they go, okay, here's the files. Boop. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Let's have our conversation. They have the conversation in the SCIF, fully secured. Nobody else in the outside world has any way of interacting with those guys doing their conversation. The conversation ends. Everybody then goes, okay, mentally I'm going to remember this, or giving special permission, they can make a generality of a note discussing what they discussed in the SCIF, but it's not concerning the secret items that they talked about in the SCIF. Everybody secures their stuff. Door opens, they walk out. That is the whole conversation that took place in the SCIF. So that's the way that one works. These guys, however, took it upon themselves to go, hey, we're leftovers from a previous administration, or or we're a bunch of screaming memeites that said, you know what? We really, truly don't like Orange Man bad. We got TDS, and we want to really, really, really screw the pooch for him. We're going to basically post this and make it well known by leaking it to the news media, who already hates his guts. Well, the investigation happened. These guys got hung out to dry, and it's like, you know what? You're on leave. We will let you know whether you stay here, if you're now going to wind up in a courtroom, or you breach any legal precedents by leaking this information. I think what it is essentially, because it was an unsecured conversation, they're going to go, you know what? You guys utilize bad judgment. You can't be trusted any longer. Your security clearance is null and void. Translation, you are not worthy to be in that position any longer, and in the process of losing that security position, you've now lost your position working with us. You no longer belong in the Pentagon. Guess what? You're now rank member of another agency, or we say you go bye-bye. So, being that, crap-stirring piece of, I got this one, sound guy. You crap-stirring piece of, just... You go bye-bye. Yeah, you go bye-bye. So anyway, doing that kind of stuff just doesn't work if you're in a secured facility. If you're supposed to keep mindful and not take stuff out of the room and go, I'm going to play, agent provocateur, I'm going to talk about these things, when you really don't have that kind of authority to broach those subjects, that's why you get your ass handed to you. There was what they refer to as an angel mom. Translation, a mother who had lost their child. There was this one lady who basically lost her, I think it was her daughter, to an illegal alien doing a crime thing. And obviously, that person was, killed. And did not have an opportunity for Van Hollen to go, oh, it's such a sad occasion. We really, truly feel for you, this, that, and the other thing. No, Van Hollen went down to Salvador to hang out with this MS-13 guy. And she proceeded to just, hang on a second. I got this one, sound guy. She proceeded to just, full on.
You're in the jailhouse now.
Proceeded to just give him a full-on case of, you are a dickhead. Yeah. Anyway, so that's Van Hollen for you. And I don't know if he's going to do so good. I think it actually might reflect very poorly on him, even in my blue-ass state, where people are going to go, that was really bad judgment to go down there and stick up for this guy, when even... it's not the greatest thing that he got, removed. And I'm being devil's advocate here because I don't feel like this in the slightest. But this guy who got removed under bad auspices, for you to go down to, Salvador and stick up for him, it's kind of bad taste. Which is probably about the mildest, most hardcore way that they would ever think of saying, like, this guy was really, not the nicest guy and you probably shouldn't have done that. I think that's about as hardcore as they would get. His re-election prospects... hopefully don't look so good because, he's really just, he's one of those guys, okay? Just, he's a hard-charging beyond blue Democrat like you don't want to know in my state, and a flailing, whining, screaming night Mimi dickhead. Okay, I'll allow that. Yeah, screaming Mimi-ite, flailing... dickhead. Okay, sound guy. Anyway, so the Democrats have slipped up, and he actually spoke honestly, and they actually let out their game plan. Quote, so tie him up in court, and we will win the midterms. Democrats play for the denying of Trump's plan to fix America. Breitbart editor-in-chief Alex Mello said on Wednesday that Fox News Channel that Ingram, I guess it's Laura Ingram, angle that the Democrats plan to tie President Trump's agenda in court so they can win majorities in the midterms and impeach him. Host Laura Ingraham said, "Now, Alex, I think the lawfare or the collusion among the attorneys general, Democrat Party officials are now admitting on camera, look, they've had some success. You know, they're simply delaying Trump's agenda, so they had to stay on the firing of the probationary workers, stay on the cutting certain grants, transgender inmates. So for them, it's delay a win, and what will the Trump team do in that regard?" Marlowe said, "Yeah, this is where I think they got the Trump team in checkmate. But I'll tell you, Laura, it's very surreal to watch them go into the mat to try to defend these illegal alien gang members and actually get, Bukali to fly them back from El Salvador. They're not crazy. Why are they doing this? They're doing it because they want to have due process and every single illegal alien deported from the country. Because if they do that, they're entitled to it, and then to get all of it, it'd take literally hundreds of years to litigate all the stuff and get it through the courts. They want to have everything tied up into their trials, their injunctions. So Trump is so stifled he can't do anything. He can't lift a finger without being called into a lawsuit. This has been their design. They've been building it in lawfare superstructure since 2008, where Mark Ellis used lawfare to try to win the Minnesota state race for Al Franken. They got us Obamacare. Once they had that, they had it in place. Hang on a second here. Remember, there were more injunctions against Trump in his first term than have been prior 100 years in the country, and they're ready to surpass that in the first year of his administration. This is the playbook. They're challenging Trump. Trump defy a court order. He hasn't done that yet. He doesn't want a constitutional crisis. Remember, even a Boasberg case, the people are on the plane and out of the country by the time the injunction came down. Miller played it perfectly. Will Miller play it perfectly every single time? They're betting that they're going to catch up, slip it up, and they have him cornered. Yeah, and that'll be the midterm win, and then they'll impeach him. That'll be the plan. Then if they win the presidency again, open the border again, so they want a never-ending stream of humanity in the United States. That's their goal. If they do that, I guarantee... Hang on, sound guy. I got this one. Hang on. Let me get myself squared away here. I guarantee you, if the Democrats open the border again and play this game, I promise you there will be Civil War II. I guarantee you that. If they play that game, it will be their ass. Okay, that was long. That was very long. This is comic gold. This whining, idiotic, baby-voiced moron is going to be the perfect counterpoint if they decide to run this ticket. Please run her for president in 2028. Please, I'm begging you. Dear Lord in heaven, please run her. So, Ocasio-Cortez, the most likely 2028 Democrat presidential nominee, please run her. Please. The whole baby voice, idiotic, cannot just institute a second thought without a piece of paper in front of her will be comic absolute gold. This one I think is absolutely hilarious. Going on the other side of the aisle, read like our aisle, there's been now a bill introduced to strip the IRS of guns and ammo. Why IRS agents need to have firearms in the first place when they're simply serving papers? I have no clue. Representative Barry Moore, Republican from Alabama, has introduced a bill to disarm Internal Revenue Service agents. Yeah, the IRS is Treasury, but they're not Secret Service. Secret Service is also a function of the Treasury. They don't need guns, okay? The bill is called Why Does the IRS Need Guns Act? It would prohibit the IRS from using appropriated funds to purchase, receive, or store any firearm or ammunition. The IRS would transfer guns and ammunition and controls to the General Services Administration, or the GSA. All firearms transferred to GSA must be sold or auctioned off to federal firearms licenses, and all the ammunition must be sold to the general public within 30 days. Thor's hammer. This guy gets it. Quarter report by Open the Books. During the COVID pandemic, the IRS went on a 50-state hiring spree to hire armed special agents with arrest powers. They don't have that. They have to call in the FBI for that kind of assistance. Between 20 and 2021, the agency purchased 10 million in firearms and gear. Figure included 2.3 spent on ammunition, 1.2 on ballistic riot shields, 474,000 on Smith & Wesson M&P 15 rifles, 463,000 on Beretta 1301 tactical shotguns, and $243,000 on body armor. These guys with any of that stuff is dangerous because they're not trained for it. And even if they do get trained for it, they're not the right mindset for that kind of stuff. These items will be in addition to the 621 shotguns, 539 rifles, 5 million rounds of ammo, and 15 submachine guns. They shouldn't have submachine guns in the IRS. The IRS already had, if the bill was passed, those items may eventually reach civilian hands with the exception of the machine guns. We need to get rid of the 1986 Gun Control Act for exactly that reason. IRS law enforcement branch is a criminal investigation and division. The IRS CI is responsible for tackling financial crimes such as money laundering, tax-related identity theft, and terrorist financial efforts. Okay, I would really, really, really love to see the IRS, bubbas facing off against the terrorists. That, to me, that would be good comedy. That would just be full-on, hardcore, just butt bung meat and bunt bung and just yeah, I think that would just be king awful to watch, but just in case, it would be fun. Yeah, terrorists versus IRS. Good try. Scrolly. Just in, Congressman James Comer is denied to have taxpayers pay for a congressional Democrat trip to El Salvador, where they're pushing for the release of Kilmar Garcia. Quote, I will not approve a single dime of taxpayer funds for use in the excursion Democrats have requested. Make them pay for it. If you're going to basically do all this grandstanding crap, you guys get to pay. Okay? That's all there is to it. Scrolly. This one coming in from one of the guys I'm basically subscribed to on Facebook. But according to Wall Street Journal, Hamas is so deep in financial collapse it can no longer afford to pay its fighters or the government staff. Salaries have been cut off entirely. The Israelis are really making it hurt all the way around. So Israel's taking land away from Hamas, choking them financially, taking them out of leadership, and eliminating terrorists by terrorists, and relocating hundreds of thousands of Gazans to other countries, and somehow the haters continue to say that they are losing the war. Quote, if this is what they call losing, I hope the IDF continues to lose. This one, I cannot begin to tell you just how funny this is. And this is why I think it's hilarious that they're going, AOC and Bernie, it's the winning ticket. You guys probably didn't hear about this on the mainstream news, but 1 million New Yorkers have signed a petition to recall AOC, or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, from Congress after she was caught red-handed cashing her deceased grandmother's Social Security checks for nearly 15 years. That's not by accident, folks. Okay, it really isn't. Wow. But they really want AOC to run with Bernie. Pollster Nate Silver has stirred controversy in predicting that Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat, New York, is the most likely Democrat nominee for the 2028 presidential election. However, Silver's analysis suggests the Democrat Party is experiencing internal divisions, with progressives like AOC and Bernie Sanders challenging traditional leadership of Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Hakeem Jeffries. Notice Hakeem is like so hard charging all of a sudden. It's because he's so afraid of disenfranchising the really bonker side of the DNC. I mean, like the really hard-charging bonkers guys. I gotta cut that down. That is too long for the Chinese gong. I mean, really hardcore bonkers. Just those guys are just king nuts. He just really just really hardcore. Uh, While some view this as natural evolution, others see it as a sign of disarray within the party. You think? AOC's recent fundraising success, a national quote-unquote fighting oligarchy tour with Sanders that they paid for the crowds. That wasn't a success. They paid for the crowds. The IP data and of course all the the phone technology that we have nowadays. You can find these things all the time wherever they are. And they knew that large portions of those crowds were at 5, if not 6 or 7, or even more of these gatherings playing the fact that, oh, they're so brave, they're so courageous, they're so this, that, and the other thing. It was the same blanking people. It was an artificial crowd, and that's being generous. In the video posted to his quote-unquote Silver Bulletin website, Silver and political broadcaster Galen Druke, D-R-U-K-E, Druke, discussed the looming shakeup within the Democrat Party and what it means for the 2028 presidential runs. Both agreed that the AOC is the party's strongest contender. Dear Lord in heaven, I'm gonna pray. Dear Lord in heaven, please run AOC. Please. If nothing else, the entertainment factor alone is going to be blanking glorious. Please, Lord, in Jesus' name we pray. It's going to be blanking glorious just to watch things go. Well, I'm gonna find this one, sound guy. I got this one. It is going to be just freaking. No. It is, if she's running with Bernie, with all the stuff now going up around her, it is going to be just. I cannot do it justice, man. If she's running with the whole check cashing thing, if nothing else, I mean, yeah, she could say, oh, I'm so sorry, it was a misunderstanding, I'll make restitution. Still, 15 years of doing it, that's not a mistake. That's an agenda, and that's how you're doing it, and you think on the slide nobody's going to catch you doing it? So much for being the broke bartender. She was getting Grandy's cash. Ugh, wow. Druke argued that the progressive squad member has, quote-unquote, a lot of points in her favor at the very moment, citing recent Yale poll found that she's the highest net favorability among Democrats. I guess they really like squeaky-voiced former bartenders that are just morons. He also pointed out she remains in the media's attention. Quote, Quote, the media's kind of obsessed with her, and they're going to follow her every move. That means she'll be able to keep the attention on her throughout the primary process. Meanwhile, Silver pointed out AOC is, quote, younger and media savvy. No, she isn't. She's a moron that puts up pictures on, Instagram or, Twitter or, TikTok or whatever the hell it is, and basically says, see, look at me. I'm now standing at the fence, and, these poor people are being held out. Then you see the real picture, and she's like fake crying at a fence like, oh, these poor people have been foxed in by Trump. Eh. You see, the problem is for the news media is they are not the same guys. So anyway, way, shape, and form, we find ourselves, these guys now find themselves are, well, potentially seeing problems, and they are having to deal with the whole case of reality now, because they don't own the news media anymore. That's gone way bye-bye. Let's see. Scrolly in a white pantsuit, too. Yeah, she was kneeling at the fence in a white pantsuit. Look at me. I look angelic. It's like, no, you look like an idiot standing on the dirt. This I cannot do justice. If you want to talk about AOC being the whole train wreck, oh man, this is beyond just. Yeah, if you want to talk about somebody that adds a full-on case of the,
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the
case of the meows. Anyway, AOC's running for POTUS in 2028, and this little ass clown, butt puke, stroking the fames of internal DNC civil war. Oh man, this is better than Christmas in April. TruthPress.com. David Hogue has donated $100,000 to shake up the Democrat Party and igniting a civil war. He's like the assistant head guy in the DNC now. Man, you want to talk about somebody that just basically really, truly just pissed that money down a rat hole and completely added his own case of suck. But yeah, having him running stuff in the DNC, shaking up the works, and we need these younger guys now to make things happen. Wow. Amazing. On a sad note, I don't know how many people here might be Christian, Catholic, what have yous, but we did unfortunately have the passing of the head pontiff, the Holy Father, Pope Francis, who was born in 1936 and unfortunately passed the other day. However, he did have an audience with Vice President J.D. Vance, and if nothing else, as a seriously practicing Catholic, for J.D. Vance to get an audience with the Pope, that's big doings. The other thing, too, is also he presented him with a rosary. Now, if you want to talk about, just politics aside, obviously I detested the politics of the Pope. I mean, absolutely detested. He was completely on the wrong side of the aisle, 180 out for me in most things, but he still was the head of the Catholic Church. So, position versus politics, I would give him that respect. However, unfortunately, the way that leftards tend to think, them going, why did he have to see J.D. Vance and then pass? If you know anything about the day in which he passed, it was the day of Christ's arising, Easter. Like, that's the big deal in, the Catholic faith, the big deal in, the Christian guys. It's a big deal, okay? So, I don't know if it was by choice or just the fact that the guy was actually just circling the drain for a while, but he passed on Easter. Wow, that's kind of huge doings. I love the hubris of these guys. I got to jump back to Hamas for a second here, but I love the hubris, the sheer arrogance, and just chest beating. Even though the place is burning up around them, and they've basically been just, bounce from one side of the week to the other, but from the IDF, the Hamas has proposed releasing all Israeli hostages in exchange for a comprehensive prisoner swap. Really, like, give us all our guys, we'll give you whatever is left of your people that we haven't, starved to death yet. The end of the At Gaza war and the withdrawal of Israeli forces. A senior Hamas official blamed At Israel for obstructing ceasefire progress. I cannot do this justice. Excuse me, folks. I got to pop off camera for a second here. There's a lot of pollen out in the air right now. It's kind of kicking my tail a little bit. But the sheer arrogance of these guys, I cannot, if nothing else, I applaud you in your audacity, sirs. I cannot do this justice, man. Wow. This one, I cannot do justice with the sheer arrogance, audacity, and just unbelievable lip-tardation. I don't know if this is a meme or an actual news story, but supposedly Rosie O'Donnell has been living in Ireland for less than a year, but is already missing the comforts of the U.S. A former talk show host is seriously considering moving back to America, according to multiple sources, as life in Ireland is hard. Oh, man. And one of my Irish friends actually made comment on this, and I gotta pull some of it out because, spicy language, but, quote, typical American attitude when they discover the old sod is not what they expected. Yeah, we don't serve ice and Guinness. You won't get a vegan Thai meal in Dublin delivered at 3 a.m. or anything else bar going the very late night chipper in person and standing in the other drunks and druggies to collect it. Milk comes in max 5-liter jug if you are lucky, not gallon, and it is expensive to live here. Service is slow on everything. We drive on the wrong side of the road, and public transportation is, shall we say, an adventure. Nor once novelty is run off on more than less than one network on main chat show, The Late Late Show. Do we care what happens to you and are not impressed you've been a chat show host who are, well, obviously XYZ PDQ, and failed movie actor. We have plenty of those homegrown ourselves. So please do F-O back to America for yourself. F-O reading, F off. So me being the snarky little person that I am, I gave a reply. I was like, you can have her. She F-O'd out of the States. She F-O'd out. But yeah, Simon nails it. That's one of my friends, Simon Jester. But yeah, I could not do that justice. So she's now thinking of coming back because, well, Ireland's hard. Jeez. So anyway, there's 4 other people, like I was saying, who are going down to San Salvador to be, peckerish. Representative Robert Garcia of California, Maxwell Frost of Florida, Yasmin Ansari of Arizona, and Maxine Dexter, Manface, of Oregon, all announced in a press release they arrived in San Salvador to pressure the Trump administration to abide by a Supreme Court order and facilitate the return of Kelmar Abrego Garcia. All they got to do is just leave him down there. The court can say anything they want to. The Supreme Court has absolutely even the Supreme Court has absolutely no authority on a sovereign nation outside of the contiguous United States. They have zero authority to tell El Salvador, you better send him back. El Salvador can go, well, I got this horrible itch right here, and I don't know what to tell you, but this itch is just terrible. They don't need to send him back. And as a matter of fact, he is a Salvadoran, a Salvadoreno. He is a person from El Salvador. He ain't going back. So they can piss that one up a rat hole. That ain't happening. So this one, I think, is absolutely hilarious. This whole Signalgate thing. I got to jump back into it real fast. Quote, Hegseth responded to the controversy on Monday saying, quote, what a big surprise. A few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russian hoax. This is what the media does. This is Hegseth, mind you. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled foreign employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back into the hands of war fighters, he said. They ain't pissing around, man. They are not pissing around. So this is not a surprise at all, but this whole family needs to be financially ruined. A pair of organizations partially funded by George and Alexander Soros, a network of left-wing nonprofits and non-governmental organizations, read the NGOs, are behind the lawsuit that has thus far successfully blocked President Donald Trump from deporting migrants who were released in the United States through former President Joe Biden's parole pipeline. It's got to come up with some more legislation. That's just all there is to it. We got to come up with new legislation to stop this crap. Speaking of legislation that really needs to stop this crap, so the fix is in. There's a Soros-backed district attorney who says that Tim Walz's official won't face criminal charges for vandalizing 6 Teslas. How are they doing this? Well, it's a financial thing they call, diversion rather than criminal charges. So basically, he makes financial restitution, and he doesn't have to go to jail. However, I would tend to think if I was one of those Tesla owners, I would sue him civilly for physical anguish, mental anguish, and all the rest of this happy horse stuff. I would, if the feds had a bone up their backside, what they would do is they would hit this guy with hate crime charges. Really, if you want to basically stop this crap and you want to stop it hard, you start charging these guys with hate crimes. You use the same tools that the Democrats have done against us, you use against them. That's how you fix this stuff. I don't know if you guys saw this one or not. This is kind of one of those, I got this one, sound guy, but this
S-Y-Z-P-D-Q-O-U equal mail too.
You've got mail.
Yeah, I'd stop that. This.
XYZP8QLU812.
Dylan Mulvaney. That guy. That Dylan Mulvaney. That Dylan Mulvaney. Yeah, that Dylan Mulvaney. The guy who basically almost killed Bud Light. The transgender activist whose partnership with Bud Light set off a highly successful boycott against company in 2023 recently announced he's considered planning a permanently move out of the United States. Dude, please, just, march out of the country. Just go. Go, leave, bye-bye. I'm trying to, an interview with UK-based LGBT outlet Pink News. Mulvaney realized he's actively looking to relocate to England. Dude, you got a fat paycheck from Bud Light before you screwed him hard. Quote, I'm trying to move here permanently, he told the outlet ahead of a starring performance in a musical stage play. We aren't kids anymore. At London's Savoy Theatre. Wow. Just wow. Quote, there's something about being here that makes me feel, people have been so kind, and, the theater's culture is amazing, and, Percy's pigs are my favorite. If the transgender activist does indeed relocate to the UK, it would not be the first time he's left the United States. In 2023, he took an extended trip to Peru in order to quote-unquote feel safe after receiving furious blowback over his ad campaign with the beer giant Bud Light. According to the report, no, people were just like, dude, you're a dickhead. We're not dealing with your crap anymore. You're that guy who just made things suck. You big ass
Dickhead, 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 dickhead,
yeah, that
Yippee-ki-yay.
dickhead,
yeah, that just
Yippee-ki-yay.
dickhead.
okay, I'll allow that sound guy. That was actually not bad. You're talking about Mr.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Yippee-ki-yay, mother kaboom, dickhead. Okay, that one was not a ding, okay? That was not it.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Dickhead.
I might have to put that one in the mix. That one's actually kind of funny. Yippee-ki-yay, dickhead. Anyway, so this guy's pissing and moaning about, oh, life is so hard now because I brought it upon myself. Ugh, what a piece of work. Let me do something real fast here so I can read this easily without needing the peepers. Okay. I actually do have some of their parts, and they've worked. I mean, they were actually the cheap alternative to the big names back in the day, and unfortunately, 25 years in, they are now, unfortunately, seeing the financial aspects of just saturation to the market. So, those people who currently do own the black rifles or the MSRs, modern sporting rifles, or known as the AR-15 family, have probably not a passing recognition to the company known as Delton. So Delton, Delton, with a hyphen. But that company has now decided, after 25 years, unfortunately, financial aspects and things are just crashing and burning upon them. Obviously, they've seen a downturn in sales, and they are decided to shutter themselves. Unfortunately, this sucks. Quote, as Delton prepares to close its doors, we want to take a moment to express our deepest gratitude to the incredible people who have been part of our journey. To our loyal customers, your trust in our products and support of our mission has been the cornerstone of our success. Every purchase, every kind word, and every moment spent using our products has meant the world to us. To our vendors and partners, your collaboration, innovation, and shared commitment has been invaluable in helping us deliver quality and reliability to our customers. To our dedicated employees, you are the heart and soul of Delton. Your hard work Your passion and unwavering commitment has shaped our legacy and built our company we can all be proud of. Together we've achieved so much, and through this chapter's ending, the memories, partnerships, and friendships will remain. Thank you for being part of the Delton story. With heartfelt appreciation, the Delton team. It kind of sucks, but at least I got some of their stuff. And obviously on the used market, you'll encounter their uppers. The easiest way to identify their uppers is if you look at the top of the upper and you go to the front sight base, like, you know, like the A thing that's on top of the barrel. In front of that, you will see the barrel stamping done laterally. And it's very not like in your face. It's usually just like, you know, caliber, and usually it'll give like rifling twist. So it'll say, you know, 223, 1 and 9. Or it'll say 223, 1 and 7. And that's literally the easiest way to identify a Delton barrel / upper. If you look at the actual upper itself, the stamping on it might be fairly generic, or there might be absolutely nothing on the side of the receiver. So that's how you can tell the Delton stuff. They work. It's not like the best quality. It's not like the worst quality. It's decent stuff. It's good for commercial grade. Is it actual stuff that you want to take in and just, you know, completely go buck wild with? I don't know. But you know what? If it's going to save your bacon, that's really all he truly needs to do. Is it needs to work every time you pop that trigger. Thanks, sound guy. Scrolly. This one, as a libertarian constitutionalist, really channels home for me. So, there's now a Supreme Court case in Pennsylvania, and it's hearing a landmark case on game wardens' access on private property. Now, this is concerning the fact that some properties, you know, for hunters, actually is a situation where they're like, this is private land. This is our private hunting setup. You know, nobody else is allowed in here because this is our private hunting land. So they have it staked out, no trespassing, and they mean nobody else going in there and hunting. That is their area of which to hunt. So what happens occasionally is the game warden guys hop the fence, set up cameras, start snooping on the people doing the hunting to make sure that they don't do anything illegal. And truthfully, these guys that have actually been busted have been very, very minor infractions. However, they've taken them to court now, and they're like, you know what? Protecting Bambi does not remove the Fourth Amendment protections from anybody on private land, and it means exactly that. Game wardens should not be allowed to trespass on private land without a warrant like any other law official. This should not have happened. I think that brings to the end of everything I got currently in terms of stuff. Let me take a quick snoop here. Do I have anything else going on? Let's see. Any other news stuff that I need to bring out? This one's ran a little bit longer than I thought it was going to. So anyway, good stuff like that there. Let's see. Anybody else jumping out at me? Let me take a look at the room real fast. Oh no! Patriot Fever. Rosie O'Donnell and the Shillelagh. It seems to be a bit rough on things. Yeah. Wow. Holy crap. Okay, I think we're good on that one. Anyway, sound guy, you got anything else? No. Oh, that's what he's got. Thanks, sound guy. All right, folks, so thank you very much for hanging out with me. This ran a little long tonight, but I said I had a few things. I guess I had a few things to talk about. Anyway, so I'm going to break up with this one. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Get a gold star for attendance. You know, many other things to do on a Tuesday, but decided to hang out with me. Thanks so much for your kind attentions. I'm going to break off with this one. Eager to keep tendering as always, you know. You love it. I will see you guys next week unless I put out something sooner. I will see you then. Catch you guys later. Have a good one. And I will hopefully find the button on this thing somewhere. Catch you guys later. Have a good one. See you guys.